Mr. Chairman, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
This raises all kinds of questions. How could E.M. Sams previously say Joe was on top of his game if he barely saw him? How did E.M. Sams give authoritative answers about the Biden family business dealings when you were sending subpoenas and whatnot, and what Joe Biden knew about it and said about it if he barely even talked to Joe, sir?
Yeah, I think this is symbolic of what was going on in the Biden White House. I think this is more evidence today that Joe Biden really wasn't the one calling the shots in that White House. This is the man, E.M. Sams, who was the spokesperson, who would attack Robert Hur when the Hur report came out and said Hur didn't know what he was talking about. When Hur interviewed President Biden and concluded that he was a forgetful old man who had a poor memory and a feeble body. This is the same man, E.M. Sams, who would constantly attacked me on TV every day on MSNBC and CNN and said that I was lying about the Biden finances and that Biden, had no guilt whatsoever in his family's obvious influence peddling schemes. Well, what he said today, when he's under oath, was a totally different story. He said he only had 2 face-to-face interactions with Joe Biden while he was president over a 2-year period, over the 2-year period that he was there. Yet he would go on TV every day and act like Joe Biden was at the top of his game, imply that he was talking to Joe Biden. And this is his spokesperson.
Crazy.
He was shielded from the president, which is more evidence that there were only a handful of people that were calling the shots in the Biden White House.
Yeah, so real quick, you mentioned him attacking Robert Hur. Here he is in one of those interviews, E.M. Sams, after that Hur report came out. Listen.
We expect the evidence of Mr. Biden's state of mind to be compelling. He said that he provided, quote, clear and, quote, forceful testimony. These are things that he says in the report. And in the transcript, he says at one point he praises the president's, quote, photographic memory. And so there's a little bit of a distinction here and a little bit of picking and choosing which issues to criticize the president's memory on. But I think that at the end of the day, it's because the facts and evidence don't support this case. Nothing else, nothing about the president's testimony. It's a fact that the facts and evidence over 15 months of investigating prove that there is no case here.
So ironically, he had no personal evidence himself about the president's memory because he was barely around the guy he was working for. So you can react to that. But I think most importantly, our viewers want to know, how does this move it forward? Do you think you're gaining momentum to overturn some of the autopen pardons? Because between this and the staffers who took the 5th against self-incrimination previously, are you building a case now that those pardons should be overturned, sir?
I think the Biden staffers are the ones building the case to prove that, there's no evidence that has emerged that shows Joe Biden had any idea of who was using that autopen or for what. This is his spokesperson. This is his main guy. Every other president throughout history had multiple interactions every day with their official spokesperson. Right. E.M. Sams is the guy who, along with Jean-Pierre, who we're bringing in a couple of weeks, stood behind that White House podium in the briefing room and constantly told the American people that Joe Biden was at the top of his game, implied every day that he knew what was going on. Ironically, that clip that you just played, where E.M. Sams is attacking Robert Hur, what I concluded today was that Robert Hur spent more time with Joe Biden than E.M. Sams, his spokesperson, spent with Joe Biden. So the Biden staffers were the ones that were just reading talking points. What we're trying to find out is who was the one writing the talking points? Who was the person behind the curtain that was pulling the strings in the Biden White House? Because it doesn't look like it was Joe Biden.
Right. So last thing, the last 30 seconds we have. But what these staffers like Jean-Pierre said at the podium is not under oath. So they're not going to be criminally charged for lying to the American people, unfortunately. So will anyone be held accountable based on what they're now saying under oath?
Well, I think that the accountability is going to be whether or not the pardons and the executive orders at the end of the day make it through the judicial process, because clearly there's a strong case to declare every pardon and every executive order that was signed, especially in the last 6 months of the Biden presidency, null and void in a court of law. And I think that's the basis of this investigation to determine whether or not Joe Biden knew what that autopen was doing, and it doesn't appear thus far that he did.
Unreal. Monumental development right there. Chairman Comer doing some great work. We appreciate you coming on, sir. Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.